One of Gabriel Boric's main allies, Daniel Jadue, said that the newly elected Chilean president blatantly faked his moderation in order to win more votes on the presidential election's second round. During an interview, a recent interview with Chile's TV channel Canal T13, the leader of Chile's Communist Party, Daniel Jadue, said that the centrist approach that Gabriel Boric was showing on the last part of his presidential campaign was nothing more than a myth which main goal was essentially to make him beat José Antonio Cast, the right-wing candidate José Antonio Cast. On this point, we need to take into consideration that the first round of Chile's presidential election showed José Antonio Cast winning this first round with a pretty solid margin of 3 points. For many, this was an undeniable surprise, despite the fact that previous polls were showing that the right-winger were getting a lot of traction among Chileans, were getting a lot of popularity. So, in this situation, Daniel Jadue essentially confirmed what many of Gabriel Boric's critics said during the presidential campaign, which was the fact that Boric wasn't a moderate and that this centrist approach was nothing more than a charade to essentially convince a wide range of Chileans to vote for him, to convince a wide range of Chileans that he was a moderate candidate and he was far from the extreme. So, in case this is true, we're talking about a pretty concerning case. A pretty concerning case because we have seen what the radical left have done to Latin America. We have seen specifically, well, not exactly specifically, but mostly in South America, the threat that the extreme left represents once it gets to power. We have seen in countries such as Argentina, in countries such as Ecuador, Bolivia, and especially Venezuela. So the possibility that Gabriel Boric is not exactly a centrist, the possibility that everything he said was a lie, is extremely concerning, especially in a country like Chile, which has been the country that has developed the most in this part of the world. Getting to this point, it is important to point out that Gabriel Boric's party is nothing more than a coalition of different political parties, where the communist one, the Communist Party, is not only the biggest but also the most important and the most influential of all, which will mean that in this government of Gabriel Boric, it is quite possible that the faction that clearly takes control of the government will be the Communist Party. So, of course, there are chances that Daniel Jadue is lying, since many believe there could be some kind of rupture between Gabriel Boric and the Communist Party. And in case this is the scenario, it will make a lot of sense, the fact that Daniel Jadue is spreading these types of lies in order to essentially to undermine this newly elected president. Of course, only time will tell. So there is a pretty concerning precedent. A precedent that confirms that the fact that a presidential candidate shows a pretty centrist and moderate approach during the presidential campaign doesn't mean anything. There is a pretty concerning precedent that shows this reality. And we're talking about Venezuelan former dictator Hugo Chavez. After all, he always had a moderate discourse and a pretty centrist approach to Venezuelan politics on the presidential campaign on his first elections. However, once he got to the presidency, we all know what happened. Reporting from Medellin, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.